Hi everyone, welcome to Oriole Resources live Q&A session today, hosted by Six. We're joined today by John McGloin, Non-Executive Chairman, Tim Livesey, Chief Executive Officer, Bob Speeton, Chief Financial Officer. We're here to answer your questions in advance of the Shareholder General Meeting held next Tuesday, October 27th. As a reminder, you can submit your questions in the Q&A panel in the right-hand side of the screen. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to John to kick things off.
Thanks, Jane, and thank you everyone for attending this virtual session, question and answers in advance of the general meeting scheduled for the 27th of October. The general meeting has been called to put resolutions to the members of the company, which if passed would allow the company to complete a 1.87 million fundraising, which we announced on the 7th of October. It's become clearer to us that the industry is becoming resource challenged through a lack of exploration and discovery. So our move into new frontiers is timely, and we believe our approach offers an exciting opportunity to be part of a growth phase in the exploration industry. The fundraiser is intended to primarily support a maiden drilling campaign at BIBI in Cameroon, where our early stage exploration work during 2018 and 19 has identified excellent rock chip grades of up to 135 grams per ton gold and encouraging trenching results, including 9 meters at 3.14 grams per ton gold. It's the board's view that these results drive the need for drilling to understand the vertical extension of the mineralization, which is in evidence over a significant strike length, which we believe is in excess of 5 kilometers. It's also the board's view that the early stage exploration is not frequently reflected in a company's market value. We believe the drilling campaign is the natural next step in this exploration progress, and we believe will assist us in supporting and enhancing our position in the market. Consequently, we're asking shareholders to support the resolution to enable advancement of the exploration program. Unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, the GM has to be a closed meeting, but in order to encourage discussion with shareholders, we've arranged this virtual Q&A session in advance of the meeting to take any questions you may have. We value the support of all our investors, and we have endeavored to give access to all through the use of the Investor Lounge platform. As a reminder, the deadline for the proxy votes is 10 a.m. on Sunday, the 25th of October. Thank you to all those who have pre-submitted questions, and we'll start by answering some of those. But please feel free to ask further questions through the platform. I'll now hand back to Jane to begin the question and answer session.
Thank you, John. So as John mentioned, we do have some pre-submitted questions today. So let's kick things off with some of those. For the first question, it reads, does the placing price now look cheap given the recent share price rise?
Bob, do you want me to pass over to you on that?
Yes, fine. Yeah, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Jane. Yeah, the board's view is actually that the share price rise is being driven by the successful placing. As John mentioned, early stage exploration results, which we've had excellent results at BIBI, is frequently not reflected in the company's market cap, and it's not reflected until we get drilling. So having the money and the drill rig in place, the market is recognizing that we're about to drive some shareholder value, and that drilling is being anticipated in the share price rise.
Thank you, Bob. Our next question, I'm sure, is one that you get very often. It reads, when can we expect results from the exploration programs in Cameroon?
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, Cameroon is newly kicked off. We've done recently had a renewal on both the BIBI and Wapuzi licenses, which has opened up our ability to now continue investing into them. We didn't want to continue spending on them until that renewal had been finalised. So the rig is being mobilised, and we have obviously a period of mobilisation. We're building the camp at the moment for the team to be based in close to BIBI, and then we'll get drilling hopefully towards the end of the next month. They are a series of short holes, so the turnaround time on the drilling should be quite short, but obviously we then have to get the assay results back. So we would anticipate most likely Q1 2021 from the drilling, and we'll then have a news flow consistently as the rig moves through that program.
Thanks, Tim. And speaking of BIBI, what value do you attribute to the drilling campaign at BIBI, and what value will it bring to the asset?
Well, as has already been mentioned by John in the opening statement there, a lot of exploration companies, junior companies like us, working at the very high end, high risk end of the business, really don't typically see a reflection in the share price, in their market cap value, until they have drill results in. The opportunity, despite the fact we've had extensive positive results from trenching and rock chipping and mapping and soil sampling, also Pusi, it's really the truth machine, the drill rig is what everybody is looking for. And that's not only the investors, it's also other companies looking at us from the outside. So it's hard to put a value on a good drill intersection, but the key thing is that it's proving that verticality to these systems, which will take us towards the next step of exploration, hopefully into identifying a resource.
Thanks, Tim. Here's a live question from Nathan. He says, would it be fair to say that the asset disposal program has not delivered the results the board expected? The company has continually told shareholders over the last 6 to 9 months that dilution would be kept to a minimum, and all of a sudden there is a 50% dilution. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll take that question, Jane.
Thanks, Bob.
I think, as we've previously discussed, we worked really hard through lockdown on a big asset disposal deal that, because two partners exercised their contractual ROFRs, the larger deal fell away. So while we continue to look at asset realisation as a means of funding programmes, the reality is the timing is uncertain, the results are uncertain, and we've got an 8-month exploration window in Cameroon that the board decided it was more important to be busy than wait around to maybe realise an asset somewhere down the line. So we've pushed ahead with the raise, and I think the market has vindicated that with the recent share price rise after said raise.
Thanks, Bob. Here's another question from one of our members of the audience today. They ask, when will there be news regarding Iam Gold and Sanala?
Very good question. Iam Gold, in their own releases earlier this year and late last year, indicated they'd have a decision on Boto, the neighbouring mine development project, in the second half of this year. Now, we do know they've been continuing to spend on early stage works at Boto, preparation for access routes, and also some of the early stage positions for project development have been hired or been out for hiring. So we don't control, unfortunately, the program at Senala itself on our license. Iam Gold, by the terms of reference of the joint venture, Iam Gold dictate the program there and obviously fund it in 100% basis. We have drilling underway at the northern target, Far A. That program was approved in June this year. Obviously, that would have been around about the wet season time. So mobilisation during the wet season is pretty limited in that area. But the drilling program, 10,000 metre aircore program, will be ongoing through the rest of this year. And we will start to see results coming back from Iam Gold as they progress that program. Now, typically, there's a little bit of a delay from Iam Gold. They need to go through their QA/QC processes and procedures before they release the data to us. They have to make sure the data is acceptable in their standards before they give it to us. And then as soon as we receive it, we have to do our own validation, because we are putting it out under our own QP in Oriole. So there's a slight delay there, but it'll get out to the market as soon as we're able to. Realistically, we were hoping to see something in Q4. I realise we're now in Q4, but Q4 lasts until the 31st of December, so there's plenty of time still left. If it drags over into Q1 2021, it wouldn't surprise me. It's a 10,000 metre programme, so obviously there's going to be news flow once it starts. It's going to roll out over a couple of months.
Thanks, Tim. Our next question asks, the junior explorers AIM market is currently fairly hot. Do you think that Oriole is currently undervalued or even overlooked by the market?
I'll say yes, I think it's undervalued and overlooked, but I'll pass it over to Bob for a more technical answer to that.
I'm not sure more technical, but I think if anyone looked at the number of trades that have gone through our share Monday, Tuesday, and Friday last week, it's difficult to say we're overlooked anymore. We come back to the answer before, really. The market now recognises we've got the cash, the drill rig en route, the license, and great targets at BIBI, and people have got interested in it, and that's driving the share price.
I think perhaps to add to that, although we are still awaiting results from Senala and from IAMGOLD, and as disappointed as we all may be that those results are not forthcoming right now, it doesn't change the fact that Senala license is sitting there. We were able last year to renew it for a further 10 years. So it's really given us some stability on that license. And that core value in Senala is not going away. The mineralization that's been identified to date is still there. If you do a comparison to some of our neighboring companies, and you do a comparison based on some of the recent drill intercepts, particularly in the north near to our Fare target, you'll see that our results from our own program in 2016 were extremely similar, long high-grade results at Fare. So the value in Senala still underpins a lot of this. So I think, yes, it is fair to say the value was not recognised and perhaps now is being, which is why we're seeing this recent uplift.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim, and thanks, Bob. And here's another question from Nathan. He asks, it's been mentioned that the company is looking at new projects. So can you elaborate when news of this may come out and what type of projects the company is currently looking at? For example, do you want 100% ownership or would you enter into that with a partner?
I'll take this one. I think strategically, we've been on record previously saying that we will keep our eyes open for gold, precious and base metals. That's where our skill set lies in the African and European time zone. And that's a very general area, general statement, obviously, but it really indicates the geographical and the commodity focus that we have as a company, where we think our strengths lie, both in understanding those countries, those areas, continents, and also in the commodities. I'm not going to go into detail about individual deal structures and so on, because we have many people approaching us with projects. We have projects that we ourselves initiate and chase, and we have new ground opportunities, such as the 8 licenses under application in Cameroon, that we do off our own bat. And in each case, the deal structure will be different. The terms and conditions will be different. So we really very much look at these on a case-by-case basis.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. And speaking of licenses, when do you expect the remaining licenses in Cameroon to be granted? And what exploration do you have planned specifically for those licenses?
Well, we're hoping they're going to be granted quite soon. The licenses are registered on the Cameroonian cadastre system. We have submissions in with the ministry. The submissions have been, taxes have been paid on them and so on. They've been through the process and through the various stages of approval. We're just waiting for the final notification. I'm actually going out to Cameroon next month, COVID willing, to meet with the ministry and to hopefully finalise some steps on some of the other work around BIBI and Wapuzi. So, hopefully we'll get some news before the end of the year, but obviously it's in the hands of the ministry. Now, as for the work programs, it's a very simple first pass. These are areas that we have 3,500 square kilometres under application, and it's what we believe to be a district scale package. So the first pass program in that would be some additional remote sensing work, remote targeting work, structural interpretation, that sort of thing, some geological mapping, and a program of extensive reconnaissance stream sediment sampling, which will help us to focus on which of the sediment basins in those 8 licenses have the potential for carrying gold. And that'll really focus our team to sort of get on into the highest, most prospective areas as soon as possible. Excuse me. That really comes down to couple of months of stream sediment sampling. It's boots on the ground work, geologist and a field crew out taking samples and moving through the dry season. So it's not a very difficult program. It should be reasonably quick. It's also quite a cheap program, and we would hope to come out of that at the end of the dry season next year with a selection of target areas for follow-up.
Thanks, Tim. These are related to the asset realization programs. Is that right?
I'm sorry, which?
Our next question is about the asset realization program. What do you expect from them, and what assets in the portfolio you're looking for transactions for?
Okay.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier to an earlier question, we are looking at realizing value from all of the Turkish and East African assets. It's a long process in many ways with an uncertain outcome, but all of them are actively being looked at to try and bring value back.
Yeah, I mean, the assets themselves, we've stated a couple of times we have non-core assets, and so anything that we consider to be non-core is we want to maximize the value from, and then we can funnel that income back into exploration on the ground.
Got it. Thank you very much, Tim and Bob. Here's a question from James. He's asking about the progress on the Turkish legal disputes.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob again.
Yeah, I'll take that. I suspect what James is talking about is, as is well known, we're pursuing through the courts a total of $1.4 million owed by former partners in Turkey from the Stratex history of the company. 1 million is from a company called NTF, and that is stuck behind a case that they need to win to have the funds to pay us effectively. So Turkish justice moves quite slowly, and we would expect to see some progress during this in the run up to the end of the year. But we don't rely on that money coming in very quickly. It'll be one of those things that all of a sudden they'll arrive, I would guess, because they need to get that case out of the way first. The other one is maybe closer, maybe not. It's 425,000 of a success-based payment. Our partner has already paid $75,000 of it. They've acknowledged the amount was payable. They've made payments against it, and then they stopped paying. We are currently going through a mediation process in the Turkish courts, and so far there's been no indication that anybody disagrees with the fact we're owed this money. Very clearly they've offered to pay it in certain ways that are unacceptable to us in certain timescales, and we're just working through, can we reach a resolution of that brings some money in at this moment in time. It may be we end up going all the way to court, which could take a few years. It may be we strike a deal with them within the next couple of weeks, but very hard to tell.
Thank you for providing more background on that, Bob. Our next question is from Nathan. He would like you to comment on the security situation in Cameroon. The Foreign Office suggests that there's danger within 40 kilometers of the various borders adjacent to the existing licenses. So can you provide a bit more detail on what's going on there?
Yeah, certainly. The border areas are flagged as a no travel zone on the FCO website, Foreign Commonwealth Office website, which is really targeted mainly at tourism and that side of things. We are aware of security concerns and issues in any border area that we work on in Africa, to be quite frank, and elsewhere in the world. And we have in place, through the auspices of a London-based global security company, we have in place processes and procedures to maintain a safe working environment for our staff out at BIBI and Wapuzi. We don't dismiss risk, but if you look at Cameroon historically, particularly this area, all of the activity, this area has been, the exploration here discovered gold first back in 2012 under reservoir minerals. And all of the exploration in this area has carried on completely unhindered by security issues. When people talk about the Chad security issues, they're really referring to what they call the far north of Cameroon, around Lake Chad itself, which is 300 to 400 kilometers north of us. And that's an area that's much more similar to the Sahel area, open access across stony desert and so on. And that's where you're having incursions coming down from, effectively from the north. And these are the groups that are going into Mali in a big way, Burkina Faso, and you know, that sort of band. So, you know, we are aware that anywhere in West Africa, this kind of thing can happen. Mali, we've seen recent evidence. Burkina Faso, we've seen, you know, recent tragic events around the mining camps. But where we are operating currently in Cameroon, we believe we have, we're reasonably well buffered from security issues. And even despite that belief, we have got in place very stringent procedures and structures with local gendarmerie providing security, very strong connection through our local partner, and also a very strong connection through the High Commission in the British High Commission in Yaoundé, and also various links through networks on the ground and through our overall security providers here in the UK.
Thanks, Tim. Our next question asks, perhaps in our previous event, our previous summit, you talked a little bit about first mover advantage. It's something that you mentioned, have mentioned before. Could you explain more detail about the potential and the first mover advantage that you have in Cameroon?
Certainly. Really, it's important to understand that Cameroon has been overlooked for probably 20 to 30 years by traditional exploration groups. We had a small resurgence maybe a decade ago, but really the only real high level of activity that we've seen in Cameroon has been alluvial gold dredging in the east of Cameroon. Until quite recently, when we moved in back in 2018 onto the old reservoir licenses. We put in the expanded license package in central Cameroon in 2019. And we've seen Eramet, for example, the big French industrial company, coming on board last year as well, looking for rutile and other industrial minerals. So we're starting to see people following us in. But because we've had this time in country, we've had the opportunity to get to understand the geology a little bit better, work with the local geology and the geography, and understand where the potential may lie, and also to look way back at the historical data from the 1950s and 60s and so on. And with new understanding of the orogenic gold systems and the potential that these mobile belts offer, that's helped us to define target areas in Cameroon that we thought were prospective. And we did a big program of this in 2019. We identified a number of areas in Cameroon that we'd like to operate in, and we ranked them. And we then went on to the mining cadastre, the Cameroon government's mining cadastre system, and looked at the areas that we thought were prospective to see who already had ground there. And lo and behold, our rank 1 and rank 2 target areas were wide open, central Cameroon. Nobody had pegged any ground there. So we put that large block application in for 8 licenses there between ourselves now and Cameroonian partners. So, part of the advantage is the fact that we've operated there for a few years. We have good relationships with our partner, with the ministry, with the government. So we know how to operate in Cameroon. We can operate quite smoothly and quite efficiently. We set up our own Cameroonian subsidiary company last year, set up the bank accounts and all the rest of it in the space of a month or so. Part of it is we understand the geology, so we understand the best target areas to be in. And part of it is that we are currently, and we have been, as far as we are aware, the only AIM-listed explorer, or the only reasonably modern focused explorer physically active on the ground in Cameroon. We've been exploring there for 2 years. We've advanced BIBI significantly, we've advanced Wapuzi significantly, and we have the new data package, the new license package in that center of Cameroon. So, we believe we are a few steps ahead of the competition, and it is good to see that the competition is now coming in. We welcome it. We're not concerned by it because we think we've got the best areas stitched up already. But it's always good to be at the front of the herd when you're in these new areas, and we believe that we will benefit from that, and our shareholders will benefit from that as we go through the next couple of years.
Thanks, Tim. It's good to hear about Oriole Resources' first mover advantage. I do believe that those are all the questions that I'm seeing coming in today. And we've also gone over all of our pre-submitted questions. So I think that we will close the Q&A session here. If you didn't get a chance to submit your questions today, our fellow members of the audience, or if you do think of one after the summit, please find more information on the Oriole Resources website. It's orioleresources.com. And you can also reach out to the team directly at info@orioleresources.co.uk, and they'll be happy to answer you directly. Now I'm going to pass it back over to John for the final word.
Thanks, Jane. And thank you everyone for attending the session today. And just to remind you, please make sure that you've submitted your proxy votes by 10 a.m. on Sunday, the 25th of October. Thank you again. Thank you, Jane. And please feel free to contact us if you have any more questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.